Keep up with Costa.
India, a land of 1.4 billion people, a billion hopes and a trillion problems. Now, I know what you're thinking, John. Why so cynical? And look, I get it. India is often painted as this, like, Bollywood-fueled economic tiger, roaring its way to global dominance. And sure, there's a youthful population, a burgeoning tech scene, and more cows than you can shake a samosa at. But beneath the surface, my friends, lurks a more complicated truth. Because while India dreams of becoming the next superpower, it's also grappling with some seriously deep-rooted issues. We're talking poverty, inequality, corruption, the kind of societal baggage that would make Sisyphus say, "Yeah, I'm good down here, actually." So, over the next, however long this takes, because India's problems are extensive, we're going to dive deep into the heart of this paradox. We'll explore the complexities, confront the uncomfortable truths, and hopefully by the end, we'll have a clearer picture of whether India's development story is a Bollywood blockbuster or, well, a bit of a damp squib. Buckle up. Let's talk about brains, specifically Indian brains. Brilliantly smart, highly trained, and increasingly not in India. See, India's producing a generation of highly skilled professionals, the kind who could build a spaceship out of a used auto rickshaw and a prayer. But here's the kicker. A lot of them are using those skills to build careers. Elsewhere, we're talking doctors, engineers, scientists, the very people India needs to power its growth, packing their bags and heading for greener, frankly better paying pastures. Now, I'm all for personal ambition, but this mass exodus of talent, that's like India investing in a five-star buffet only to have everyone go next door for a pizza. It's not a good look, and it's definitely not sustainable. Corruption. India's other national pastime, right after cricket, and meticulously crafting the perfect cup of chai. From petty bribes to grand scams that would make Bernie Madoff blush, corruption is so deeply ingrained in the system, it's practically a flavor enhancer. And look, I'm not saying every Indian official is on the take, but the sheer scale of it, it's like trying to navigate a maze where the walls are made of bureaucracy and the only way forward is to grease a few palms. This rampant dishonesty siphons off resources, deters foreign investment and makes it nearly impossible to build a fair and equitable society. It's like trying to build a skyscraper on a foundation of sand and hoping for the best. Spoiler alert, it doesn't end well. Education. In theory, it's the great equalizer. In India, it's more like the great divider. Sure, literacy rates are improving, but the quality of education, well, that's about as consistent as the power supply. You've got elite private schools churning out future CEOs, while government schools in rural areas are lucky to have a roof, let alone textbooks. And this chasm between the haves and the have-nots, it's creating a generation divided. On one side, you've got a highly educated workforce ready to compete globally. On the other, millions trapped in a cycle of poverty, their potential left untapped. It's like having a Ferrari and a bullock cart trying to win the same race. Spoiler alert, it's not a fair fight. The educated unemployed. Here's a head-scratcher. India has a massive young population hungry for opportunity. It also has a huge pool of educated graduates, so you'd think finding a job would be a piece of cake, right? Wrong. Welcome to the paradox of educated unemployment. See, India churns out millions of graduates every year, but many lack the practical skills needed for the job market. They're learning outdated curriculums with little emphasis on critical thinking or practical application. It's like being handed a beautifully crafted hammer when what you really need is a plumber. It's a classic case of right skills, wrong toolkit, and it's leaving millions of educated young Indians feeling frustrated, disillusioned, and frankly a little bit cheated. The perils of vote bank politics. Let's talk politics, shall we? Specifically the kind of politics that makes you want to bang your head against a wall of naan bread. In India, political parties often rely on what's called vote bank politics. This involves pandering to specific groups, often based on caste, religion or region, with promises of goodies and handouts in exchange for their unwavering support. Now, on the surface, appealing to your base might seem like, basic politics 101. But in India, it's taken to an extreme. Parties are so busy clinging to power, so terrified of alienating their vote banks, that they'll often prioritize short-term gains over long-term solutions. It's like trying to steer a ship by committee, where everyone's got a hand on the wheel and no one agrees on the destination. Chaos, my friends, is the only logical outcome. Economics! What economics? Here's a radical thought. Maybe, just maybe, the people in charge of a country's economy should actually understand, economics. Now, I'm not saying Indian politicians are incapable of grasping basic economic principles, but sometimes it feels like they're reading the Kama Sutra and looking for investment tips. From baffling policies that stifle growth to a baffling lack of urgency in addressing crucial reforms, it's enough to make you wonder if they're deliberately trying to tank the economy. And look, I'm all for a good conspiracy theory, but the reality is probably far less sinister and far more depressing. They just don't get it. Infrastructure. India's Achilles heel. Let's talk infrastructure, baby. Roads, railways, airports, the sexy underbelly of any thriving economy. And in India, well, it's a bit of a mixed bag. On the one hand, you've got gleaming new airports and impressive highways popping up faster than you can say incredible India. But then you hit a pothole the size of a small moon. The power cuts out for the third time today and you realize, oh right, we're not quite there yet. See, India's infrastructure is like a patchwork quilt held together by hope and a whole lot of duct tape. It's desperately in need of a major upgrade, and until that happens, India's economic engine won't be firing on all cylinders. Healthcare ailing and inadequate. Healthcare in India is a bit like a Bollywood movie, full of drama, unpredictable, and with a healthy dose of singing and dancing. Okay, maybe not the last part. But the point is, it's complicated. On the one hand, India is a global hub for medical tourism, with world-class hospitals and highly skilled doctors. On the other hand, for millions of ordinary Indians, access to quality healthcare is about as common as finding a unicorn riding a Royal Enfield. Underfunded public hospitals, a shortage of doctors, and the ever-present threat of crippling medical debt mean that for many, falling ill is a financial disaster waiting to happen. The environmental cost of progress. India's pursuit of economic growth has come at a cost, a big, dirty, smoggy cost. From the air pollution in Delhi that would make a coal miner cough to the toxic waste-choking rivers and poisoning farmland, India is facing an environmental crisis of epic proportions. Now, I know what you're thinking, John, this is getting depressing. Can we talk about puppies or something? And look, I hear you. But the truth is, ignoring this environmental time bomb isn't going to make it go away, it's going to make it worse. And it's going to impact everything, from public health to economic productivity. In short, it's time to trade the grow now, clean up later mentality for something a little more, sustainable. India, a land of contrasts, where ancient traditions meet modern aspirations, and where the gap between the rich and the poor is wider than a Bollywood dance number. See, while India's economy has been growing, the benefits of that growth haven't exactly been shared equally. We're talking a tiny elite amassing obscene wealth, while millions struggle to put food on the table. It's like a game of Monopoly where one player starts with all the properties and the rest are just trying to avoid going bankrupt. And this kind of stark inequality, it breeds resentment, fuels social unrest, and ultimately holds the entire country back. Bureaucracy, the lifeblood of any self-respecting democracy. And in India, it's an art form, a frustrating, time-consuming, soul-crushing art form. Want to start a business? Get ready to navigate a labyrinth of permits, licenses, and approvals that would make Kafka scream. Trying to get a simple document? Better pack a lunch, a good book, and maybe a sleeping bag, because you'll be there a while. This infamous red tape, this tangled web of rules and regulations might seem harmless on the surface, but it's a silent killer of innovation, investment, and frankly, anyone's will to live. It's like trying to run a marathon through a pool of quicksand, exhausting, demoralizing, and ultimately pointless. Let's address the elephant in the room, or rather, the deeply ingrained patriarchy in the subcontinent. Gender inequality in India is so pervasive, so deeply woven into the fabric of society, that it's often just accepted as the way things are. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be this way. From discriminatory laws to social norms that limit women's access to education, healthcare and economic opportunities, India is effectively holding back half its population. It's like trying to win a cricket match with only half your team on the field. Spoiler alert, you're probably going to lose. The rural-urban divide, two Indias, India, a tale of two cities, or rather a tale of shining cities and struggling villages. The divide between rural and urban India is stark, a chasm of opportunity and access. In the cities, you've got gleaming skyscrapers, bustling tech hubs, and a palpable sense of possibility. But venture out into rural India, and it's a different story. Poverty, lack of infrastructure, and limited access to basic services are a stark reality for millions. It's like living in two different countries, separated not by borders, but by opportunity. And until this gap is bridged, India's development story will remain woefully incomplete. Stuck in the fields, dependence on agriculture, India, a land of farmers. For centuries, agriculture has been the backbone of the Indian economy, a source of livelihood for millions, but it's also a sector plagued by low productivity, unpredictable weather patterns, and a lack of modern infrastructure. And as India aspires to become a global economic powerhouse, this dependence on agriculture is becoming more of a liability than an asset. It's like trying to win a Formula One race with a tractor. Sure, it's reliable, but it's not exactly going to break any speed records. Trapped in the technological slow lane. India, a land of ancient wisdom and outdated technology. While India boasts a thriving IT sector and a growing number of tech startups, large swathes of the country remain stuck in the technological slow lane. From limited internet access to a lack of investment in research and development, India risks falling behind in the global race for technological supremacy. It's like having a smartphone with a dial-up connection. Sure, you can make calls, but you're not exactly going to be streaming Netflix anytime soon. Foreign direct investment, the lifeblood of any growing economy. And India? Well, it's complicated. On the one hand, India is a massive market with huge potential, a siren song for foreign investors. But then they encounter the reality, the bureaucracy, the corruption, the ever-changing rules and regulations. It's enough to make even the most seasoned investor say, you know what, I think I'll pass. India needs to roll out the red carpet for foreign investment, not a welcome mat made of red tape. Let's talk trade, baby. Specifically, the fact that India seems to be really good at importing things and not so good at, exporting them. This trade deficit, this imbalance between what India buys from the world and what it sells to the world, is like a financial black hole, sucking wealth out of the economy. Now, I'm all for a good bargain, but at some point, you've got to start making more than you spend. India needs to boost its exports, become more competitive on the global stage, or risk becoming the world's largest importer of, well, everything. Debt. It's the one thing that unites governments, businesses, and college students around the world. And in India, public debt has been piling up faster than a stack of samosas at a wedding buffet. Now, a little bit of debt is normal, even healthy. But when your debt starts to outweigh your GDP, it's time to maybe put down the credit card and have a serious chat about fiscal responsibility. This mountain of debt limits the government's ability to invest in crucial sectors like education, healthcare, and infrastructure. It's like trying to run a marathon with a refrigerator strapped to your back. Possible? Maybe. Advisable? Definitely not. India, a vibrant democracy, a melting pot of cultures, and a breeding ground for social unrest. From protests against discriminatory laws to clashes over scarce resources, India seems to be constantly teetering on the edge of social unrest. Now, protest is a fundamental right, a sign of a healthy democracy, but when it descends into violence and chaos, it undermines everything from economic stability to social cohesion. It's like trying to build a house on a foundation of fault lines. Sooner or later, something's got to give. India a rising star? A global player? A middle-of-the-pack performer? When it comes to global competitiveness rankings, India's performance is, well, underwhelming. Despite its size, its resources and its potential, India consistently lags behind other emerging economies. It's like having all the ingredients for a Michelin star meal, but somehow ending up with a lukewarm bowl of gruel. India needs to step up its game, address its structural weaknesses, and unleash its true potential on the world stage. So, there you have it. A whirlwind tour of India's development story, warts and all. It's messy, it's complicated, and frankly, it's a bit overwhelming. But amidst the challenges, there's also immense hope. India has the potential, the people, and the resources to become a true global powerhouse. But achieving that potential will require a Herculean effort. It will require tackling corruption, investing in education and healthcare, addressing inequality, and creating a more inclusive and sustainable growth model. It won't be easy, it won't be quick. But if India can summon the political will, the collective determination, and maybe just a little bit of that famous Indian ingenuity, the future remains bright. The journey is long, the road ahead is paved with potholes and speed bumps, but the destination, my friends, is worth striving for. We are a tolerant nation. We are perfectly okay with dirt, potholes, lack of public services, project delays, lack of civic sense, cost overruns due to project delays, and many more. Pause 2S. But it's time for us to wake up and start thinking about all this. Pause 2S. We can move faster and we can make a difference. Pause 2S. Imagine an India where roads are smooth, public services efficient, and projects completed on time. Pause 2S. Picture a nation where civic sense is second nature, where cost overruns are a thing of the past. Pause 2S. This isn't just a dream, it's a possibility. Pause 2S. But it requires each one of us to care, to act, and to hold ourselves and our leaders accountable. Pause 2S. The power to transform this nation lies not just in the hands of a few, but in the collective will of over 1 billion people. Pause 2S. Let's not be content with mediocrity. Pause 2S. Let's strive for excellence. Pause 2S. Let's be the change we wish to see. Pause 2S. The time to move faster to make a difference is now. Pause 2S. The future of India depends on it.